You're listening to the voices behind Women's Cricket Chat. That's Hannah, Georgie, Cassie, Mahika and Alex. Coming up on today's podcast, we've got a former Worcestershire player, Lauren Rolls, who's recently just won the Ashes as interim head coach of England men's learning disability squad, taking away a 7-1 win and being the only team out of the 5 teams that went to Australia this winter to win an Ashes series. So that's really cool. We also talked to her about her work with Central Sparks and who are the young guns and up-and-comers we should be looking out for.
Okay, today we are welcoming to the pod Lauren Rolls, pronounced Rolls like a Rolls Royce. Just for all of you who want to know the kind of person we're dealing with today, we've got a Rolls Royce of a cricketer with us. So, not something we say in England very often at the moment, but an Ashes winning coach. So we're going to put that out there again. Ashes winning coach, Lauren Rolls Royce, regional talent manager at Central Sparks, and just all-round bloody legend. So welcome to the pod. You're joining me, Georgie, and Alex today. How's life at your end?
Yeah, life's pretty good. It's always nice to have a lovely Ashes introduction. And nice to be called Rolls Royce. Usually I get called Sausage Rolls, so that's quite a bit of a different term. But yeah, good. Busy at the moment because it's the middle of the summer, but I've managed to squeeze you guys in.
Oh, we're honoured. We're honoured. So I think you can't ignore it as an English person. The excitement of winning an Ashes is something that I think we've got to start with that one. Normally we like to go sort of chronological story, but it's too big a story because it's so rare. So not that long ago, you were appointed to head up the learning disability team, and then you went out to Australia and you just casually won the Ashes. So just tell us about that story and how you got involved with that and what that experience was like.
Yeah, so I was interim for a guy called Derek Morgan, who has been there for years as their head coach. And then, I just applied, just saw the application on the ECB, applied, interviewed. And to be honest, I just interviewed on a whim. Like, oh yeah, that'd be class. Like, it'd be really good to be involved in that. And it was like, they advertised it as head coach and assistant coach role. So I was thinking, at best could get a cheeky little assistant coach gig. And then, just got a phone call from Ian Martin and he said, we'd like you to be the head coach. And I was like, I'm not sure you've phoned the right person here, Ian. But so that was great. And then we had the lads train like 1 weekend a month pretty much in the winter. So we had a few training sessions at Shrewsbury School and at Loughborough, and then 2 warm-up games before we went out to Australia. So I hadn't really spent that much time with them before you then go into a 2.5-week tour. But we flew out to Australia and then we hit the ground running. It was literally as soon as we landed. Well, I landed a day after some others. So then it was landed like 10 o'clock Aussie time, and then 10 o'clock in the morning, we were up and training. So that kind of helped with the whole jet lag because I had to get off to sleep and then I had to get up in the morning, otherwise I would have just stayed in bed. And then we trained for a couple of days and then we were straight into it. It's like game, rest, game, rest, game, rest. We had 8 games in total. So it was carnage, to be honest. It was busy, but it was great because it put me out of my comfort zone from the word go, really, to be honest. And mainly because I didn't expect it. I hadn't worked with disability cricketers before. So it's, I had to try and learn as I was going, really. But the lads were brilliant. They're just a great group of people. And so were all the support staff. So there was a guy called Jason Weaver and James Voider, who are my assistant coaches. And they were also pretty fresh into it as well. So we helped each other out a little bit, should I say this? Should I say that? Am I meant to say this? What can I do here? So it was good to have them to bounce off of a little bit, which was nice. But and then we won 7-1. So fast forward, 1-7-1. It's brilliant. I think I have eaten enough food to say that I've definitely celebrated winning the Ashes. But no, it was great. It was an intense tour. And it was the first time I'd ever gone away as like the coach of a team, head coach of a team on a tour. So it went pretty quickly, to be honest. But it was, looking back, it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant, yeah.
And you say you were stepping out of your comfort zone to get involved with, disability cricket and all of that. Is it something that you'd really heard that much about? And you say there was stuff that, that was difficult to sort of say and what you kind of do. How do you overcome all of that? And how can we increase the coverage of this and more people to get to know what they can say, how they can get involved, what they can do?
Yeah, so I, to be honest, didn't know much about disability cricket. I knew that there was a physical disability side, but other than that, I wasn't aware of a learning disability. Obviously, we were out there in Australia with the deaf team, didn't know that these things went on. until I was in the thick of it, really. But I think in terms of like things you can and can't say, it's very much independent on the individuals that you've got there, because a lot, you know, some of them will have autism, some of them will have other learning difficulties. So, but also it doesn't all present in the same way. So some people can be really autistic, some people can just be mildly autistic, and you have to just flex. So the thing that I found that helped me the most was just not being too emotional. So like I can be quite energetic and a bit bouncy sometimes, but I can also be a bit moody, just like a normal coach can be. So I just tried my hardest to be as calm as possible. Anything that was kind of thrown at me, just would take a deep breath and stare at them and then think, right, how am I going to respond to this one? And then just take a little bit more time, I guess, over, you know, rather than coaching the women or coaching females as well, I'm quite comfortable. So I would probably just react to something pretty quickly. Just make sure that I took my time over things, and I was honest with them. I don't like it if people are a bit fluffy with me, if they're trying to conceal something, or, you know, they want to say something, but they want to try and say it nicely to spare my feelings. I'd rather them just say it and then I can deal with that. So that's kind of the tack that I went with them, because Derek, to be fair, was great. The guy before, he just said that, you know, essentially be a good person and be honest with them. And that's, you know, if that's all that you end up doing, then that's two of the biggest things. So I just sort of held on to that a little bit.
Just on the Ashes, I think England took 5 teams with them, the men's, the women's, England women's A's, England men's A's, and they all, between those 4 teams, couldn't register a win. And then you guys come along, win 7-1. So you must feel so pleased not only to win the Ashes, but also to have the main bragging rights.
Yeah, bragging rights are always nice. And I've got me and one of my assistant coaches got a little tattoo as well to celebrate that we won it, because you never know, it might never happen again. But no, it's great. I think it's all relative though, isn't it, against the opposition that you come up against and the situation. And it's so different in disability sport, because it all depends on how much the country that you're playing against put into it themselves as well. Whereas I think women's cricket, obviously men's cricket has been around much longer. If you think of women's cricket, international cricket, so maybe 15 to 20 years ago, that's probably where the disability England teams are at, where they don't get paid to play, and they like everything is obviously paid for them. But yeah, so it's kind of, they're a few years behind at the moment, and then other countries could be, you know, Australia probably a little bit behind that as well. So it's, as much as I want to brag and be like, yeah, 1-7-1, don't mind me, but it's all relative, isn't it, I guess.
And what has been the most rewarding part of the role so far?
I think it's been how I've got on with the players themselves and the staff, because I was fresh out of nappies really going into disability cricket. So I like to think that I built up a relationship with a lot of the players and staff pretty quickly. And since then, you know, I've kept in touch with a lot of them. Obviously, so I was interim until the end of the tour, and now they're making decisions on what's going to happen in the future, really. But it's been good that I think the relationships that I've built have obviously been pretty strong, and that I'm in a situation where I can still pick up the phone and talk to any of them if I wanted to, and they can do the same to me.
I wanted to ask, obviously you've been involved with women's cricket and now disability cricket. I wanted to know, what are some of the differences between the sessions of disability cricket and women's cricket?
So because of the nature of the guys' impairments, so we would have a weekend where we train, and it would be, I think it was 12 till 6 on a Saturday, and then 9 till 2 on a Sunday. So you stay overnight. And it's essentially like, it sounds long, 12 till 6, you think, Christ, 6 hours, what are you going to do? But they need probably a little bit longer, just sometimes just to calm down and then refocus, because they can't concentrate for as long. Again, just because of the nature of their impairments. And 6 hours for anybody is a pretty long time. So it's like, you know, you set up your skills and what you want to work on, but it's just being aware that some people might need a break, being aware that there might be a few tantrums that happen in that time. And then the next day they are pretty cooked, because the volume then is so high. They literally go from probably a bit of club cricket and maybe a bit of training in the winter, 1 session a week, if that, from January, to then a whole weekend of it. And they're staying overnight and they're buzzing because they're around their mates again. And whereas obviously women's cricket, in the situation that it's in now, they're, you know, I mean, I live with Amy Campbell, who's used to training 3 times a week now and playing and things like that. So they get in and they crack on, whereas the lads probably just need you'll start with your S&C, but then S&C and fielding, they might need a bit of a break after that, give them 20 minutes, and then you get into your batting, then you give them 20 minutes, half hour, have your lunch, whatever. So it's just being really flexible with them, because everybody's so different.
And so it's not a secret that it just doesn't get as much coverage as others, men's cricket and also women's cricket in this country. And then we had this incredible Ashes. We saw a lot about that, and we haven't really heard that much on disability cricket before and since, which is a shame. But is it something that you almost see a reflection of perhaps where women's cricket was X number of years ago as well, that it needs something monumental to make this recognition happen?
Yeah, there's so much scope for it to grow. And what's brilliant is this summer they've got a Disability Premier League going on. So I think it's 3 days at in August, which is great, because that will hopefully just bring together and build the awareness of the fact that this goes on. Because I've had a few messages of people since, like, oh, I didn't even know that there was a learning disability team. I think I might qualify. How do I get in touch with people and stuff like that, which is brilliant. But speaking to Jane Powell, who's the performance manager now for disability cricket, she is an absolute hun. And also she's so excited by where disability cricket can go, because there's so much scope. So I think she's preparing something now to send out to counties to make them aware of A, what's been going on, and B, how people can qualify, because I think there's just, even I'm not clear on that, to be honest, because I didn't know anything before it. So, but yeah, if you look back, like, I was a bit disappointed, if I'm honest, I was a bit disappointed with the lack of social media interest from like the ECB leading into it. And then whilst we were out there, like, we had the odd article that went out and everything like that. But I thought, we're playing the Ashes, and this is a big thing, not only for me, but for the players and for other people, their family back home and other players that might aspire to be there. So it would have been nice if there was a little bit more social media wise on it, just to build the awareness and get it out there, because cricket's cricket at the end of the day, and if they're representing their country, then that's a big deal, and it should be treated as such.
I do find sometimes that is a problem, not just with disability cricket, with women's cricket, because at the beginning of the year, we saw when the under-19 men's got to the final, they got all these good luck messages saying, "Oh, go well for final," this and that. When the England women got to the final, it wasn't quite the same reception. So what do you think governing bodies like the ECB, like Australia Cricket, need to do to make sure disability cricket and all cricket really is getting the same attention?
I think it's just looking at what they currently do for all the other cricket that goes on, and making sure that it's the same, and making sure that they take it all seriously. And because people will always come back, like they do in women's cricket, they'll say, oh, well, the standard isn't the same as the men's. And well, it's cricket, but it's different, isn't it? It's women's cricket. So there's going to be differences. There's disability cricket, there's going to be differences. And if you start to take it seriously, then you'll see A, the standard get better, and B, people will care about it. So I think it's just making sure that it's a level playing field for everybody. On things like social media, to me, I mean, this is me saying it, I'm terrible at social media. Like, if you look at my Instagram, I'm the worst poster ever. But if you care about it and you want it to grow, then it should get the same respect and the same amount of time that the other things that you currently do also get. Because if you do that, then it's going to grow organically anyway, because of the awareness that it'll build up. Obviously,
social media can be a toxic place. You do get people who are just trying to use a word that's, all right, not nice. People can be not nice on social media, and that's something that can potentially be difficult. Like we see it against the women, we see it against people who, of all forms, backgrounds, beliefs, loves, whatever. There's always going to be someone out there who says something that just isn't nice, because that's what the world consists of on social media sometimes. How can we use social media in a positive way to try and almost protect from this? And because put out learning disability cricket, and as much as love as we all want to give it, there's going to be someone out there who's potentially going to say something negative, and that could potentially really impact some of these players more so than, your able-bodied players, your female players, men's players. What can we do about combating that?
A $1 million question, isn't it? You're right. It is worrying, because I think even in the women's game, with the 100 and all the attention that's been getting, the girls, I know some players that have received some abuse and some horrible comments that have really affected them. And I think in a way we can't really control too much about what other people say, but we can control how we react to it and how we kind of cope with it. So making sure that there's a support network for people there before we start bigging things up is probably really important, because I know a lot of the learning disability lads, they still get abuse at club cricket. They still get people taking the mick out of them there. So, and that's people that play with them, play against them week in, week out. So, any old Joe blogs on social media can say whatever they want, but a lot of it comes down to, without getting too like bigger picture, but a lot of it comes down to how seriously Twitter take things like that, and how it shouldn't be Tom 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 24, 27 that comments on everything. It should be, people that actually can verify who they are, and then they're held a bit more accountable for it, because it's an actual person and not just some strange person just wanting to cause trouble. But I don't know, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's so difficult, because it's anybody could receive a message that's horrible. But I think it's just, you have to be really you have to be really mentally strong and have some support around you if it's going to be a regular thing.
I also always find that when it is people slagging off women's cricket, slagging off this thing, the next thing, it's always the users with no profile picture. It's always like the silhouette, or when it was back in the day, the egg. And it's just like, if you're big enough, so to speak, to tweet these things so publicly, you should be man enough to show your face.
Yeah, and you think of going up a little bit off subject, but if you think of Tinder, right, you use Tinder and you have to go through your Facebook, don't you, to prove that you are who you are on Tinder. So why can you not do that on Twitter and go through, I don't know, your mobile phone number to prove that you're an actual person? Like, I don't know, if you can do it on Tinder, then you can definitely do it on Twitter. It's just making sure that you do it, and then you get your best pictures up, don't you? So
sadly, I'm not getting any dates from either of them at the moment.
No, preach, useless.
And then just last few bits on disability, and then we'll move on to more women's cricket and a bit of that. Just to segue into the women's cricket, thoughts on a women's learning disability team and more women's disability size? How is that something that's not come about as much yet?
So, good question, and very well timed. So on Saturday there was actually a women's pan disability session at Loughborough University, which is brilliant because it's the first time they've ever done it, and there's 2 more in August, I think, that fall in line with the Men's Disability Premier League then as well. So again, like, if you don't know, you work in cricket all the time, right, but you don't know about it. So why don't you know about it? Why is it not reached you? Because then, people with social media platforms like yourselves are the ones that can go, bang, this is happening, contact so-and-so and get yourself in there if you think you can qualify. But, things like that. So so if you remind me, I'll send that over to you, and you can ship that out. And obviously Jane Powell, the absolute Harden, is the main contact for things like that. But yeah, again, will only grow the more that they do things like that. And it's a really positive step, I think, and potentially the first country to do it. So it's really good.
Also, any excuse to contact Jane, and I'm so there. I met Jane and her identical twin a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh my God, this is the best.
They are great, aren't they? They're so lovely.
Yeah, she's just fab, and what she's doing is great, and we just love her. So you, obviously, you're a bit of a dab hand at cricket yourself, but it's been a bit of a, should we call it a turbulent journey? We'll go with that one. So if we look back at where it all started, we'll go chronologically now. We've covered, winning the Ashes, just that little thing that happened. When you first started cricket, who and what got you involved?
So I was a football girl when I was younger. I always played football for the mighty Bristol Rovers. And I always used to play cricket in the back garden with my dad and my brother, and we were always very competitive, and it was just standard. I didn't actually join a cricket club until I was 15. And that was only because, so people had pestered me before, oh, you should join cricket, but I was quite shy and I didn't really have any self-confidence. So I was a bit like, no, I'm quite comfortable with football, so it's fine. But one of my friends from football was like, Lauren, like, I'm going up to Shirehampton Cricket Club for this cricket session, like, you need to come with me. I loved it last week, it was so good. And then she dragged me along, and then it was pretty quick, and I'd played a bit of like quick cricket at school, yada yada yada. And then joined that club, joined Shirehampton, and then played for Gloucestershire 17s and senior women, and then played for Worcestershire because I went to Worcester Uni, Derbyshire because I then worked at Loughborough, and then now Staffordshire.
I think I like the fact that, I know a lot of female cricketers go to university, but the vast majority go to Loughborough. And I'm not slagging Loughborough off, but it's so nice to speak to someone who's not been to Loughborough. So at Worcester, you studied, if I have got this right, you have a BSc in sports coaching, science and development.
Spot on.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So I essentially, to be honest, I chose my university based on the fact that I'm a bit of a home bird. So being from Bristol, Worcester wasn't too far away, so I couldn't go back at weekends, but it was far away enough that I didn't have to stay with my parents. So it's about an hour, so it's not too bad. And I could take my washing home, so that was nice. The best part, well, there were two really good parts for me at uni, and it's obviously I met a load of people that were just like myself, like just enjoyed sport, and to be honest, didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. But throughout the 3 years that I was there, I kind of started to realise. And then I had this one lecturer called Glyn Harding, and he was just like the best person you'll ever meet. Like, he was so caring, he was brilliant. At Christmas, I'd pop into his office and he'd have some Christmas cake from his wife and a coffee waiting for me. So he was just like, and I like the fact that at Worcester, obviously you mentioned Loughborough, but if you go to Loughborough, it feels to me like you're just you could be anybody, and you wouldn't get the kind of care and attention that you would at a smaller university. So I enjoyed that. I got to know the lecturers a little bit more. And I kind of developed a bit of a personality from there, really, because I was quite shy when I was younger. So it was good. It was good. I didn't get the best degree in the world, but we won't talk about that. We don't need to know the classification.
Any degree is a degree in my book.
And also, who asked you? I have a psychology degree. Why? You know? Anyway, so you're playing at Worcester, and this is where I don't want to say controversy arose a little bit, but there was it wasn't the happiest of endings at Worcester. Can you just, so obviously we saw the things that came out in the Cricketer back in 2019 and your chat with Raf and all that kind of stuff. So what sort of led to this, and how did it sort of turn so sour? And is this something that you think has changed these days? If you just fill us in on the story a little bit.
Yeah, so it was essentially, we had been, as a lot of county women's teams were, asked to pay to play, and we had a season where nobody had mentioned having to pay, and then all of a sudden towards the back end, I think we were leading into a bit of a playoff, we were then slapped with this email, you need to pay this amount of money. So that already didn't sit very well with myself and a lot of the girls. And I was captain at the time, so I kind of took it upon myself I spoke to everybody, and we composed an email, we sent it off. We never got a response to that email. But it was just essentially around like, look, you didn't tell us about this, so we need some help. And it spiraled a little bit from there. I think, if I look back, I probably could have handled the situation better. Worcester probably, when they look back, could probably have handled the situation better, because it just became like an email keyboard warrior kind of thing, which is never good. I think, I was, how old am I? I was probably mid-20s and a little bit of an idiot at times. So I definitely could have handled it better. And then obviously it led to me being removed from the squad and asked to never return. So that is the short story of it. I am more than happy to give you the long story with a drink. But yeah, so that's essentially it. But it all came down to money at the end of the day. It all came down to money and people wanting their money. And I get that. I do get that. But what I'm really glad is that Worcester and all other counties seem to have taken huge strides forward in not asking the women to pay, or asking them to pay as much as we used to. And I think that's massive. You represent your county, you're selected for it. In my opinion, if you're selected for something, you shouldn't really have to pay because they've selected you. So yeah, it didn't end in the best of notes, but I'm glad that obviously now with my regional role with Central Sparks that we've made up, and I think we can all just agree to disagree a little bit, but also agree that it could have been handled in a much better way by both parties. So.
And was there anything after that made you just not want to play anymore? You were like, what is the point?
Yeah, I was gutted. To be honest, I was really gutted. I enjoyed playing cricket with the girls at Worcester, and I enjoyed being captain. So yeah, I was gutted, and it took me a bit of time to really think about whether I wanted to continue playing, or if I wanted to go down the coaching route early doors. But I'm glad that I did. Derbyshire were lovely. and they sort of said, come and play with us, there's no pressure, just come and play and see how you get on, kind of thing, which was great for me because I didn't want anything that was too intense at the time. So yeah, to be honest, I was gutted, shed a few tears over it, but glad that I kept going, glad that I keep playing.
Just on that, it seems that it was a situation, obviously, like you said, could have been handled better, and a situation that got out of hand. And it seemed like you got a lot of the blame, which didn't particularly seem. Did you ever get any clarification or an apology from Worcester in the aftermath of it all unravelling?
No, I've not. No, I've never had anything like that. No, I just got an email saying, please don't contact us again. So, but those people that were involved in that have moved on now. I don't know why, but they've moved on. So, which kind of makes my job now a little bit easier. And like, I think sometimes you have to admit if you're wrong. Just like, I'm happy to admit that I should have dealt with it better. And it just is what it is. I'm glad that I'm not in the thick of it anymore. And if I speak to my friends, if I speak to my family, I'm still relatively comfortable with the fact that I stood up for myself and I stood up for the people that I played cricket with. And if it meant that I didn't play for them anymore, then that is what it is, isn't it? You just have to deal with it. So.
And what changes have you seen since that time? Because obviously there have been so many developments in the women's game, and it's probably almost bittersweet because you're like, I didn't get to experience that, what if, but, and this kind of thing. But does it make you feel good that it's not the same for girls and women playing now?
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. It's amazing now. That it seems like obviously ECB are putting in a load of money and the money's going in the right place, which is the best thing. It's going to the right people that are all in it for the right reasons. And I think that was one of the issues probably a few years ago where there was money going in, but it wasn't going to the right people for the right reasons. So now it's, it's so exciting as a young cricketer growing up and the potential that you can have. And it's just and the time and the care that, I obviously work with the Sparks Academy, and these girls have the option to train 3 times a week, and they have all this support around them. And I just think, that's brilliant, isn't it? If you want to just get better as a cricketer, that as an opportunity is fantastic. And then the standard of the women's game is only going to grow. The main thing I think now is, what about people like me? I'm 30 in a few weeks' time, but there's a whole host of female cricketers out there that are mid to late 20s who, they're not too old, but if the under 18s are getting 3 sessions a week, and me personally, I've not had a training session for 3 years, then how will I ever be able to stake a claim for something like that? And I think mid 20s to early to mid 30s, if I was, I am obviously a player, but I know some people out there are thinking, well, what about me? What can I do? What's out there for me? So I think that's probably potentially maybe the next step or should be the next step in the plan, you'd think.
All right, so you moved on from Worcester, fix it, flush it, those kind of things. How did you rediscover your love for cricket?
I played for Derbyshire, who were great. As I mentioned, they just were pretty relaxed, and thankfully didn't expect too much from me because that season, because it happened in March with Worcester, so that season I was a bit nowhere, to be honest. But I was working within community sport, it was community cricket. So I started at Worcester as a development officer, development coach, was in schools all the time. And then when I was at Loughborough, I was there as a community, lightning community officer. I can't remember the exact role, and that was, integrating with clubs and county boards and stuff like that, and getting more women and girls, softball festivals, bits and pieces. But I always wanted to go into performance. So that is when I kind of spurred myself to go, people, like in my mind, I think people should be treated better. And so I wanted to be a part of that. So that I then started doing a lot more performance-based coaching. Like I'd done county age groups before, but then I got involved with the Loughborough MCCU and things like that. So that's how I kind of rediscovered it, really, is coaching and wanting people to be treated better in that situation. So, and then I just kept playing, and now I'm player coach at Staffordshire, which is good, a bit of a challenge because it's difficult to warm everyone else up and warm myself up at the same time, but that's good. That's a really good challenge for me. So yeah, I pretty much just went more into coaching from there on in, really.
And what is it about coaching that you love so much, and what are some of the differences you found through coaching all these different age groups and players that you perhaps play with?
What do I love? I love social interaction personally. So I love being around people, and I love that team atmosphere. especially like a fun kind of relaxed one, which is, you know, where Central Sparks are at the moment. Is brilliant. And it's a challenge because obviously I've coached for, like, even now I'll dip into some under 11 sessions and you've got to be really happy and smiley and bouncy, and like I probably, when I dip in, I'm probably really distracting then for the other coaches that are there. And then as you go through, obviously it's just the expectation gets a little bit greater. And, you know, when people talk about like coaching philosophies and things like that, it's always like a key question when you have an interview, like, oh, what's your coaching philosophy? But you have to flex it so much dependent on the age and stage of those people, and, you know, whether they've got impairments or not, male, female, whatever it might be. So I think it's just, and that's another thing that I like about coaching, is having to not be fake, but not every day is the same. Although every day every day feels the same. You have to almost sometimes be like a completely different person to how you were the day before, depending on who you're with, which is kind of fun and probably a bit of a skill in itself that the best coaches can master.
And so you're involved with Sparks and the development that's going on there. Obviously, this, you know, it's a fairly new setup, all of these regionals since 2020. How much have you seen that grow, and what kind of impact is it all having on the women's game? Because from what we see and get involved in, it's like astronomical.
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? I think the fact that people can make a living now out of playing cricket, women can make a living, is just fantastic. But I also just think it's even for the wider squad, so the girls that aren't being paid, they get paid to play but not to train. I think it's just brilliant because it allows them to have really great people coaching them. And, you know, without bigging Sparks up too much, we do have a brilliant team of people, of staff, you know, from the physio, S&C to the coaching staff, and obviously Laura McLeod as the regional director. And they're, like I said, it's the right people in the right positions, people that care about the development of the sport and not just about getting some money in their back pocket. So it's just the opportunity that the girls get, and then the standard of cricket is just getting better and better, which is only going to keep getting better and better as time goes on, really. You think men being paid to play for however many years, so people are expecting players to just all of a sudden, just because they've started being paid to play, they're automatically going to be better. Well, they're not. That takes time. So all of that will take a bit of time, and in the next few years you'll see it getting, the standard getting better, just like the men's game is still getting better and better and better, because it just develops. So, but yeah, I think it's just brilliant. The 100 obviously was fantastic last year for women's cricket and the exposure that it got. I went to a few games at Edgbaston where, you know, there was, I think it was like 15,000 in to watch the women's game before the men's, which is just brilliant. You'd never get 15,000 people watching it. So in terms of exposure, that's great. And then hopefully over time, what would be even better is if you see that filter into the regional game where there's more people coming to watch that. Because you know, there aren't too many people that come out and watch that at the moment, but hopefully at some point there'll be more fans that will come along and support Central Sparks. No one else.
Just on your role as development officer at Sparks, you've seen someone like Davina Perrin come through the ranks, and she's now going to be playing for Birmingham Phoenix this year in the 100, which is really great. She's only 15. Who are some of the up-and-coming Sparks players we should be on the lookout for?
Oh, well, there's a whole host of them, obviously. Oh, whose horn do I want to blow? So we've got Ellie Anderson, who's been in our senior squad for the last couple of games, unfortunately hasn't made her debut, so she's definitely someone to look out for. Caris Pavley is another one, absolutely boshes it, left-hander. Who else have we got? There's a girl at the moment actually called Meg Austin, who she had an operation on her knee last year, and the fact that herself and another girl who also had a knee operation, Caitlin Belcher, they both are coming back from that, and just shows the support they get. So we've been away at this regional festival this week, and they have literally used up every opportunity they could with the physio to be able to do their rehab. But that's something that they've done for the last however many months from when they had their knee operations. So I think to show that kind of resilience and that want to get fit and then get better, you know, they're back batting now and they're absolutely buzzing about it, I think shows probably more than where their skill level at is to whether they'll go far. Because especially Meg was awesome before she got injured, and now she's had this operation. I can only imagine she'll come back stronger and a much more resilient person from it. So I'd go Pavs, Ellie and Meg Austin, and then whoever else is in the Central Sparks Academy, who will be jealous that I've not mentioned them right now.
So you've got quite a few up and coming, and you've also got there's also some Sparks that are really flying at the moment. What's it like as a as a setup, as a family, the younger ones looking at the older ones, the likes of, Izzy Wong's about to play in the Commonwealth Games, basically in her home city, which is really cool. What's it like within the Spark setup to be able to see that?
It's amazing, isn't it? And Wongi is absolutely mental. So she's going to love the Commonwealth Games, isn't she? She's going to be buzzing around for however many weeks on her tiptoes as she runs in. But I think what's really good about the Sparks environment is that the academy train a lot with the seniors. So it's not too daunting for them. They'll sit, they're alongside Izzy Wong. Some of the academy girls would have faced Izzy Wong in the nets and things like that. And I think that's brilliant experience for them, but also takes away that, oh my God, it's Izzy Wong. So it's not so scary. If they then do progress into the senior squad and they get a gig in there, then they're much more comfortable in that situation, which is brilliant. And everybody supports one another with that. It's so nice to see like the older players just put their arm around the youngsters if they can see them struggling, or offer words of advice. And that doesn't come without allowing them the opportunity to do that, because I know some teams still, they keep their seniors very separate to their academy. And eventually we may have to go that way, but for the time being, I think it's brilliant that we mix in quite a lot, and it just allows people to learn from each other, and the older ones probably learn a little bit from the youngsters, keep them young, get them on nights out and things like that. So that's always good.
And so going forward from here, what's the next plan? Are you going to be, we're recording this just as the week of the Commonwealth Games start, so will you be off to any games and seeing any of that?
I am hoping to. Obviously I'm in Birmingham, so I'm hoping to get across to watch some games, but it depends. It's very busy at the moment, but if not, I will be sat in front of the telly watching them. And then obviously we've got the 100. I've got a placement with Welsh Fire in the 100, so I will be with them for a couple of games and a few training sessions hopefully. But yeah, apart from that, it's just going to be busy. We've still got academy fixtures going on, we've got scouting going on, we've got observations that go on, and so it's going to, and then I've got to sit down and watch the rest of the 100 at some point. So I was lucky last year, I had COVID for a week, so I was locked in my room. I was in a house share, so I was locked in my room for a week. So I used to plan my days around, at 3:00 I'd sit in front of the telly and watch it all. So I'd watch the women's game, then I'd have a nap in between the women and the men's game, and then I'd watch the men's game and then drift off to sleep. So it's just perfect for a badger like me to be able to have the time to watch it all.
It's like me on test match cricket days, you sort of line up your lunch and tea and everything at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that sort of brings us nicely. Alex, do you have anything else you wanted to add? Because I thought that could bring us on nicely to our quickfire questions.
Yeah, I just have a quick one. Obviously, earlier you mentioned you live with Amy Campbell. So I just wanted to know, do you guys end up traveling to work together? Do you get to pick her brain much for not ideas, but stuff you could pass on perhaps to some of the younger girls? Or does she come in and kind of not coach them, but give them words of wisdom herself?
Cambo's always happy to give words of wisdom herself, but unfortunately we don't travel to work together because we both leave the house at different times. We have different morning routines, I think is the fairest way to go about it. So, and I'll try and get there a bit earlier than when the players need to. But we do sit down, we've got a little garden that we sit in, and we'll chat and we'll put the world to rights about certain things within cricket, and which is good. It's great to have to live with Amy and almost see the other side of it. And
did you go to the 90s night with her?
No, I didn't. She's dressed up as a Fresh Prince, wasn't she? So
that was very funny.
But yeah, no, unfortunately I wasn't there. But no, Cambo's great. And it made me realise, I guess, when she first started as a pro and she was contracted, how tired she was. And in my mind I was thinking, you can't be this tired just from training. Come on, get on with it, girl. But then honestly, she was so tired because the volume of training that she then started to do, it made me realise that, this is a bit tough. I was a bit ignorant to it. So it's been good to just take things on from her, really.
And she's not tired from doing the Fresh Prince rap or something?
No. She's fine. She's bouncing around today.
If we get her doing that, that'd be great. So we like to always round off with a bunch of quickfire questions. And we mentioned tea and lunches things. So we're going to start off with, what is your favourite item at a cricket tea?
Pizza.
Oh, that was quick. Cold?
Yeah, it's got to be cold, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pizza.
What kind of toppings on the pizza?
I'm a bit of a plain Jane. I do enjoy cheese and tomato, but anything with a bit of meat on it, usually a goer.
Well, Izzy Wong's favourite tea item was a spoon because she didn't get a question. So.
it doesn't surprise me, to be honest.
Yeah, so yeah. And then another one that we really love is, what's your favourite sledge that you've ever used or heard?
I've got to think of one that doesn't have a swear word in it now. Oh God, this is really going to test me. What's the favourite one that I've ever used or heard? I mean, I've used a few. I'm probably one of those that you would rather play with than against, because I just don't stop talking throughout the whole thing. I really, really enjoyed, Lloyd actually told me this one of, oh, Batty, you've got some poo on the end of your bat. Right, he obviously didn't say poo. He said a different word, beginning with S, ending in T. And then the batter looked at the bottom of their bat and he went, no, the other end. Do you get it?
I get it.
I don't.
Yeah? You don't get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be out in the middle like, wait, can you just explain that, please? Just wait for that umpire, because I don't get what they're saying.
I don't understand what you just said. I mean, the main thing is you would be distracted, wouldn't you? So
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'd be standing there like, what? Can you stop running in, because I'm really trying to think here.
Yeah, I've had it before where I've been batting and someone will say something from first slip as the bowler's running in. And yeah, just anything. I usually sing. I usually like to sing a bit of Elton John, Rocket Man.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a rogue sledge, but if you're a terrible singer, it's going to distract anyone.
I'm a beautiful singer. That's what
If you're a beautiful singer, it's really going to distract you. They'll be like, oh my God, Elvis is here. Elvis is at my game. Very funny. Maybe Elvis was into cricket. Who knows? Favourite place you've played?
It'll probably have to be Worcester New Road. It's just lovely, isn't it? It's nice. It's got a nice big changing room and a nice big cathedral.
Other than Amy Campbell, who is your best friend in cricket?
I have to give a shout out to my girl Rachel Hopkins, who has been my best friend for longer than I care to remember. Yeah, I mean, she's not the biggest name drop in the world, unfortunately, but she's my best friend nonetheless.
Who has the best and worst chat in cricket?
The best and worst chat. I think the worst chat has to be... The best chat's obviously me. The worst chat... Oh my God, there's so many. There's so many people that just still go for the old school. Keep going, girls. Wide brings a wicket here, girls. And you're like, oh, please stop. Please stop. Wongi's got pretty bad chat, to be honest, because she overthinks it and she just rambles on. Cambo is equally just as bad because she's a bit sleepy, I think is the best way to put it. Who else has got bad chat?
Or even bad chat off the pitch?
I'll tell you who is deceptively very, very funny is Grace Potts. She's got the driest sense of humour I've ever experienced, and she's hilarious. Terrible chat. Rhea Fackrell's got pretty bad chat. Yeah, pretty bad.
Do you want to just list everyone?
Yeah,
like, I've got great chat, everyone else is stuff.
I've just picked up Potsy. Liz Russell's pretty funny as well. Give her due. She's all right. Yeah, I mean, I could put them all into good and bad, to be honest, but we could be here all week.
To be fair, it must be a Potts thing to be funny, because you've got Matty Potts, Durham bowler for England. He's quite funny. It comes across quite funny and quite intelligent as well. So we can always say people with the best chats are also very intelligent.
Yes, you could say that, which is why obviously I've got such good chat. But Potts is genuinely just so dry. She'll say one comment and it'll just like she'll deadpan it, and you just can't believe that she's come out with it. She's just one of those. You'd never expect it, but she's good.
Night in or night out?
I enjoy a night out. I do enjoy a night out. Yeah, I enjoy it. And I'm one of those people that I'll say, oh yeah, I'll just pop out for a couple. I'll join you for a couple. And then I'm out till 4 o'clock in the morning because I've danced too much. And then I end up having chips and curry sauce, waking up the next morning with a few regrets and then cracking on. So yeah, night out, definitely.
Last series you binged?
Last series I binged. Oh my God, what did I binge the other week? Hang on. Let me get my Netflix up on my phone. It'll tell me. I've just started watching Umbrella Academy. That seems... It's all right. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. What did I binge? Ozark's good. The last thing I binged, like proper binged, was How to Get Away with Murder. I watched that for the second time, and I probably did that in a few weeks. Just because, you know, when you rewatch something and you're just like, oh, I didn't even realise that. I've completely forgotten about it.
Gossip Girl.
Oh, I've never watched Gossip Girl.
You've never watched Gossip Girl?
Okay. So we need to hang up so you can go and start. 90210, which I've just been rewatching.
Oh, fair.
With Gossip Girl, you've got to watch the classic one with Chase Crawford and Penn Badgley, not this new crappy one. I've been
watching the new crappy one. It's crap.
It's like, no, It's because they're trying to make it so modern and like with the times. It's like no, that's why Gossip Girl was good, because it was just like back in the day, 2007. It's the fashion though, like it was just so well written that like the fashion was just classic. Now it's just like I couldn't even tell you what a modern day fashion trend is.
Yeah, fair. Have you ever watched This Is Us on Amazon Prime?
Don't. I need to watch
How
another
good.
season.
How good. It's such an emotional roller coaster. I think my mood each week would be dependent on what's happened in that episode.
Yeah. Who's your favorite character?
Oh, it's a good question. What's his name? Kevin.
Oh, God, love Kevin.
Yeah, I like Kevin. Or was it Madison, the woman that he had children with?
Yeah.
Yeah, or her, those two. I wanted them to be together, to be honest, but
yeah. I find Kate very annoying. I'm not gonna lie. Very annoying.
Yeah, she is annoying.
Georgie's just sitting there like, I don't watch this. I don't know what's going on.
You need to watch it.
Yeah, I probably do, but I'm casually trying to finish watching the new Gossip Girl. I now started, I have to finish, and it's just shite. So that's what I'm doing. Favorite genre of music? And then we'll let you go, I promise.
That's right. Favorite genre of music? To be honest, I really like old music. So like, I've got a record player, I've got vinyls, but I've got like Frank Sinatra, Elvis, Fleetwood Mac. But I don't really know if that's a genre. I think I'm just living in the past. If that's a genre,
it's okay. We have actual breaking news right now. UK is definitely going to host Eurovision next year.
Oh, fantastic.
What just come in last?
No point.
I don't care. We're going to be hosting. That's the best.
As long as they pick like a decent place, not somewhere bad like Coventry. Coventry was the first place I could think of. I could have said Leeds, but Leeds is 50-50.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like it's big enough to like, and it's nice enough, but then it's also like kind of not great at the same time.
Savage, a bit harsh.
Oh, I can say that having lived in Leeds for 3 years because of uni. It's one of those where it's like, yeah, it's great, but at the same time, you're just kind of like, because I didn't go to University of Leeds, you can just see all the toffs a mile away, and they're just like, oh, we're better than you. I'm like, shut up. I will fight you. But there we go.
Alex, did you have anything else you want to ask? Lauren, did you have anything else to add?
Just quickly, Lauren, where can our listeners find you across social media platforms? Yeah, we know you said earlier you're not the best, but where can they find out about you, about the England Learning Disability, about Central Sparks, about the whole shebang, really?
So if you want to see me moan about Amazon not delivering my order or not refunding me when they should, then Twitter is the place to go. That's Lauren Rolls 10. If you want to see me post about twice a year when I see my family, then Instagram is the place to go. That's Lauren Rolls 92. And then just Lauren Rolls. There are 2 Lauren Rollses though. So there's a Lauren Rolls who's a Paralympian. So try not to get us mixed up, because unfortunately I'm not as athletic as she is.
Well, thank you. It's been absolutely fab to have you on. It's funny because Alex edits these and cuts them down, whatever. And sometimes people don't realise how long we actually just have a good old chinwag for that just gets cut out. So thank you so much for taking time out, most of your money, it seems. And it's been really fab to have you. And I hope everyone has enjoyed listening. Thank you, Lauren Rolls-Royce, for joining us today. And yeah, we'll hopefully catch you in Birmingham at some point at some 100, and you won't be hidden in your room watching it from there.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, just drop me a line when you're there and I'll come and join you for a drink.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, and yeah, have a fab day.
Thanks, guys. Really enjoyed that.
Massive thank you to Lauren for coming on and being a guest on the podcast, and for being so open about what happened with Worcestershire. It obviously wasn't very easy for her, so we're really appreciative for her speaking about it. And you know, Ashes winning coach, on the flip side of that, the only team to win the Ashes this year. So, and I also believe it was the first time the learning disability played the Ashes. So, you know, she's one and done. She can She can retire a happy person if she chooses to. And it's also really great to hear that disability cricket is growing, and so it should, because all cricket is cricket at the end of the day. And cricket is a game for everyone, not just a select few. And to all our listeners, if you want to keep up to date with everything that we're doing, you can follow us on Twitter at WCricketChat, on Instagram at Women's Cricket Chat, and if you want to give us a like on Facebook, we are Women's Cricket Chat. If you'd like to give our personal Twitters a follow, then it's at HannahT1194, at GeorgieHeath27, at Cassie Coombs98, at Mehika Barshni, and I'm at Alstein Pereira. This has been Women's Cricket Chat. Tune in next time.